there's a blank stare.
Yep.
And that's what
movement in the eyes, no emotion anymore. Like they use the up down of the eye movement to give you emotion, and they even gave him like a little visor above his head that would kind of give you the eyebrows.
Right.
And now, like you said, there's nothing, and it's not even that he doesn't know who she is. He doesn't even know his own stuff because she starts showing it to him. When she turns her back to turn the tape on, he crushes his own stuff.
Mm-hmm. And he puts it back out like another day.
Yep.
Like if it's his job.
Yep.
You know.
And that's when she leans in, the spark hits him like they kissed, and poof, now he remembers. Now, that doesn't make sense, but I guess it was saved in the BIOS because the chipset is gone, and that's where the memories obviously were, right? Or maybe there was some residual left in the RAM. I don't know. That computer-wise, that doesn't work.
Disney-wise, that reminds me of Snow White. You know, as Prince Charming goes to kiss Snow White because she ate the apple, and then all of a sudden it's waking up.
Right, right.
So I can see it. I can see a Disney tie-in.
Sleeping Beauty too. You know, the True Love's kiss and all. But it's just like it just doesn't. Realistically, that doesn't work for a computer. Right. If you rip the hard drive out, it doesn't have any of its information. And that's basically what happened here, right? We're showing that. The only other thing I can think of is that it's not his hard drive because it's only a chipset, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe whatever it wasn't able to access the old hard drive.
Right.
And this Spark was able to access the hard drive now through the new motherboard.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like a broken wire or a crimped wire in a circuit board that if you replace it or stretch it out, you get that little bit of life left.
Right. And now we have our Wally back. So happy ever after. You know, we didn't lose Wally, but Wally was willing to give his life for Eve. Even when before he found the plan, you know, Eve was mad at him. She was getting mad at him the whole time. And then when he goes and when they find each other in space, you know, that's when they hug. Because my daughter had said, I meant to bring this up, 20 minutes ago when we talked about it. When she was upset, my daughter looks at me and goes, I don't think she's going to love him anymore. And then when they're happy later, when he finds it and brings it back, they're happy together again.
Out of the mouths of babes, and to watch, and you do this, you have children, so you can watch this over and over again, and it's almost like watching it brand new. It's almost like watching it. You see it with their eyes.
They're going to tell you 6-year-olds don't know how to be quiet in a movie.
Popcorn, kid. Popcorn. I paid $15 for it. True story, folks. But you see it so much more differently than I would. And that's the reason why I said yes to this podcast, because Disney means so much to so many different people. And there's so many different ways people take movies and people take TV shows. It's a memorable experience, and you just created a memorable experience with your daughter watching this movie.
Which is what it's all about, right? Life. Absolutely. I mean, just life in general. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Before we end here, even though we ran through the whole movie, let's just talk real quick about Burn-E, which was an 8-minute short that happened in 2008. It was in the scene where Wally and Eve go back inside from being out in space. Mm-hmm. You actually see Burn-E try and get back in the door. He's locked out. But that's all you see. You just see this one little robot. You don't know it's Burn-E. You don't know anything about him. What the storyline here is he's kind of a screw-up robot. And Burn-E stands for Basic Utility Repair Nano Engineer. Okay. And so when he comes out, they attach like a hydrogen pack to his back, and they give him a little torch hand. And he goes and gets this new light he's supposed to fix. And it spends 8 minutes not getting it done. So,
sound like anybody you know?
Yeah, a lot of people I know. So, he lets go of it the first time. It floats away when he turns around and tries to see them. When they shoot off, when he waves hello to them as they come in, and it floats away. He finally gets one wall welded in. And he spins around and cuts it off. You can even tell the robot giving him the light is getting annoyed at him because they're just dropping it at him now. He turns around, and after all the hijinks, he gets it put on, and he turns around, and Wally and Eve get in and lock the door on him. So now he's outside, and it's still not working.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't been able to press the on button again. He's welding. He's heating up this little thing, making a flower. He's giving like the ship a
Right, he's
tattoo.
doing the graffiti on the sidewalk. Yeah.
It finally dawns on him, I can cut my way in. So he does. He goes all the way in. He goes to push it, and that's when Otto turns the ship on him, and he goes flying right back outside. When he finally gets in, the ship has righted itself and landed on Earth. And for whatever reason, all the robots leave with the humans.
Yeah.
He sees the robot he needs to press the on button for, who's somehow still connected, even though they're outside. He shoots the thing out, the escape pod he's sitting in. It lands, a piece flies off, he pushes the button, the light comes on, and the part lands on top of the light and breaks it.
Yet again, failed machinery.
So
I love that short. I thought that short was really well done. I mean, movie quality from script to visual to everything about the short. For 7 and some odd minutes, you were entertained from start to finish.
And look, I get it. Bernie is the butt of the joke for the whole thing. But at the end, when it breaks the last time, you kind of feel for the guy.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, man, dude, I've had those days. Like, I know when things just don't go your way.
Yeah, you know, you kind of feel bad for him. And it's a human emotion for you to do it while you do laugh at him, but you don't want to laugh at him. Oh, boy. You know.
And here's the thing. Within the next week, I'm going to have a day like that. And I'm going to be like, see, that's what I get for laughing. That's payback.
Why, God, why?
Exactly. So Tribz, do you have any final thoughts on Wall-E and Bernie, or just Wall-E, or just Bernie, or?
Wall-E is a movie that has many messages, is, again, and I'll bookend it with this, is a Disney Pixar movie that will stand the test of time because of the messages it has. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I would watch it again, and I will try to watch it with my nephew or my godson. You know, whatever the case may be, we'll sit and watch it, and I'll get their take on it. I'll try not to say a word, but that may not happen. But otherwise, yeah, I really and truly love this movie. I think it's definitely one that's a tearjerker. Again, it's messages and whatnot, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm glad I picked it.
I'm very glad you picked it. So for my final thoughts, this is one of my favorite Pixar movies. It's hard to say that because they're all so good, but I really, really loved Wall-E. When Wall-E first came out, he was very quickly up at the top of my list of characters because he doesn't talk, but he talks. There's a ton of emotion throughout the whole movie. There's a very clear and concise story. It's multifaceted, but it's very easy to follow. The fact that if we just get lazy, this is where we'll end up. If we just allow corporations to tell us how to live, this is where we'll end up. If we don't keep fighting for the planet, this is where we'll end up. There's so many stories going on. And then the overarching story is also a love story.
Yes.
With Wall-E and Eve. Even though that wasn't the main thing I focused on watching the movie, it's right in your face. You can't miss it. It's there. And it's an obvious part of the story. So with all this going on, and it's not confusing. That's the thing. All of these stories are tying together, and they're not confusing. Bernie's fun. I liked it.
Yeah.
I had not seen it back in 2008. I think I've seen it since then, but only once. So I don't really remember the story going. But I thought it was hilarious. And like I said, next week I'm going to be Bernie. I'm telling you right now, guys. There's going to be a day where I'm dropping lock nuts and washers, and I'm going to keep climbing down the ladder to go get them. And at some point, I'm just going to throw down the stuff, and it'll be lunchtime, hopefully. So, yeah, as a construction worker, that plays into how I see life once in a while.
It's great that it resonates with you in that matter. A lot of movies, a lot of people it resonates with, be it personal or professional. It's great that Bernie resonates with you. It's great that Wall-E resonates with you, as familial as it is. And that's what Disney does. You mentioned it, the overarch was a romance movie, and that's what Disney is. Disney is a romance, be it a relationship romance or a friend romance or whatever the case may be. there is a romance theme in every Disney movie.
Right, absolutely. And this is technically a Pixar movie, but they're very similar methodology to the way Pixar is writing stories since teaming with Disney. I mean, Pixar didn't start as a movie company, but when it did, it teamed with Disney. It's been with Disney since for their movies, and it's very following in that same philosophy. But,
yes.
All right, so before we go, we have a great offer for you. Cuts by Magic is offering all our listeners a 10% discount on any custom orders with code Mickey's Marvels. Contact Cuts by Magic by searching Facebook for Cuts by Magic. That's CUTS space BY space MAGIC. Message the page and tell them Mickey's Marvels, and you'll receive a 10% discount.
Please join us on the Facebook page, Disney Aficionados. That's Disney-Aficionados, where we will be holding polls for upcoming discussions to be hosted here on the podcast.
So, Tribz, where can people find you when you're not discussing the implications of laying in floaty chairs and drinking your breakfast?
You can find me on the internet. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter, where my handle is @TrekFanLV. So, Magic, where can people find you when you're not catching the immediate rays of the sun or touching an icy comet?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at MagicDrop5. That's no spaces. The 5 is a digit. You can also find me on the Trek FM network doing The Edge with my good friend and friend of the show, Amy Nelson. You can also find me on the Disney Aficionados page, or just reply to the posting of this on the UFP website, on the UFP Facebook post, and I'll answer you there. Those are the easiest ways to get a hold of me, and that's the best options. Please go to iTunes and leave a star rating and review. That will help others find our podcast. It'll also let us know what you think of what we are doing and how we could improve or what we should continue to do more of.
At this time, we'd like to thank our executive producers who make this all possible. They are Brandon-Shea, Ken Tripp, Zach Moore, and Tony Robinson.
And after you've listened to this podcast, we hope you'll drop us a message and tell us how we are doing. Keep those mouse ears open for more Mickey's Marvels. And besides, who wouldn't want to be a kid again?
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.